Hey there, internets. This is Kyle with another edition of the My Business Launch Secrets YouTube channel. Hope you're all doing well today. And this is actually the second time I'm recording this, this day 98, because I realized I filled up my hard drive space too quickly, and my other video just stopped, and then I couldn't save it because I didn't have any hard drive space. I could have saved it, but then anyway, I would have had to patch, edit, or whatever, put two videos together, and I just didn't really feel like messing with that, so after sorting out my storage issues, I just thought I would start from scratch here. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm sure I'll miss the great things I said in the previous version of this video, but whatever, that's all right. Life goes on. I would think I was saying something about, well, first of all, again, this is more so my video diary, not something meant for a lot of external consumption per se. Obviously, I put it out publicly on the YouTubes because I need some way to keep myself accountable, put it out there, even though, again, it's not really for anybody, and I don't really expect anybody is, I certainly hope nobody is waiting for these on a daily basis. But nevertheless, it helps me kind of mentally just make a plan that I'm at least going to make. I'm going to do something each and every day. That's my goal. And for the most part, I've been sticking with that. Again, it's been about, well, a little over 3 months now of working at this and trying to, get an online business stood up. Has been, I would say, slowing down a little bit lately, just due to a variety of circumstances, I guess, I don't know, in my life and my thought processes behind these things that keep the wheels moving in my head, but make it hard for me to just sit down and get shit done, more or less. Dealing with a bit of a funky period in my just day job life, which, again, I do still have a day job. This is not something I'm doing full time. I would love to do that, but that would mean quitting my job and not getting a paycheck, which I still need to pay my bills. And I get paid pretty well, have good benefits, and am not prepared to just cut that off quite yet. That would be pretty stupid. So, not going to do that. That being said, my day job is not going as well as I would hope it would, although I'm not sure really. I'm just kind of in a funk in my life, I think, that I don't really even know what I expect out of a day job. And I mean, I do think I have a bad one right now, but frankly, as I look back over the past, few roles or positions I've had in at least two different organizations, I don't think I really was entirely happy in any of them. And yeah, it's just hard to stay motivated to try to do good work, and especially when in my current position, the bar is just so low for what good work actually looks like, that I know whether I work my ass off, put in overtime, whatever, on something versus very minimal effort, do the bare essentials, get the basics done. Either one of those are going to result in the same outcome to me, which is hey, good job, Kyle, this looks good. And I'll probably have a standard average annual review come whatever later this year, and standard average salary increase 2 to 3%, whatever. And again, that's not going to change whether I bust my ass or I just kind of do minimum level of effort. So when you're in that kind of a situation, where do you get motivation to want to actually invest your mental capacity into doing more, I guess, right? And in the last recording of this video, I was going off a bit about the just U.S. economic system that, in my view, has led to some of the inefficiencies in the market. And although I don't work for a giant corporation, it's a larger company, like 4,000 to 5,000 people, I think. And if you think about even very large companies today, a lot of them did not exist like 50 years ago. Obviously, there's a handful that have been around since the turn of the last century, but a lot of them in the tech space especially are fairly new in the grand scheme of things. So you think about, how did those companies come to formation? Well, a lot of them were, a small one guy or a small group of people got together, came up with some ideas, worked on it, diligently, found the right partners, got the right customers, and then boom, you got Microsoft, multinational corporation. You've got IBM, you've got Apple, you've got, of course, all your social media nonsense, Facebooks and all that sort of thing. That, again, all of them started out as being something small and having to run with a small group of people to do things very efficiently. So everybody in that small company had to be very good at what they were doing and had to execute to perfection to get that whole machine working, right? But obviously at some point in time, you get, I don't know what the size is, but at some point, a certain amount of revenue or whatever, it's like companies just seem to just start bringing in multitudes of other peoples to just start doing things. I mean, whether it's you got to worry more about your accounting, or you got to worry more about your legal, and maybe you need to have a whole new engineering team that's just looking at, how to design the icons for your Windows operating system or something. And so over time, years and years of that, you get to these points in a lot of these companies where it's like a lot of these positions, like people aren't really doing much of anything all day. And people maybe sometimes get frustrated that the American worker typically is kind of a lazy ass person, but it's just the nature of the corporate game that we all live in. And again, the fact that, much like myself, a lot of people do feel that whether or not they bust their ass and kill themselves day in, day out for their job, or whether they do the minimum level of effort, the outcome's going to be the same. So why would anybody feel motivated to break hump and do all the extra work, right? I mean, in relatively few cases, doing so will actually result in you maybe getting promotions, like serious real promotions, not just like, oh, we're going to change the name on the door, but you're not really going to do anything different. We're not going to pay you a whole lot more. I'm talking about serious promotions, like moving up, becoming executive level type of person or something like that. That I think is more the exception to the rule. And I guess the question is, why do companies do that? And in my opinion, I think it has to do with the fact that, I think if you think about it in terms of, as I've been listening more to, very successful entrepreneurs, guys that started out by themselves doing something and became very wealthy off of whatever their online business or whatever the thing was. And you even listen to them talk about how once they reached a certain point in terms of their own personal income, their own personal net worth, I guess, it's like money stops mattering to them at some point in time. And because if they made an extra $1 million this month or next month or last month, if they already got 50 million in the bank or something, all their bills are paid, all their expenses are taken care of. Like, there's only so many fancy cars any rational person would ever think of dropping money on, et cetera, et cetera. And so at that point, all they're doing is just managing investments. And so sure, if you give me an extra $1 million, well, that just means I got to figure out where am I going to put that $1 million that I just made? Do I have to go buy more real estate? I have to go, find the next, hand it over to my stockbroker and hope he makes a good decision about putting it in the stock market or something. So the point of all that being that, when they get all this extra revenue, it's natural for them to think, well, I guess I should probably invest it back in more in the business. So let's just hire some more people because maybe that'll make us do more stuff. And so easily you can get to this point where, now again, it doesn't really matter. They don't really care as the business owner if they've got like 3 extra people on their staff that aren't really doing much of anything, because again, those salaries, if they're paying them whatever, $50K a year or something, I mean, that's just so like marginal when you get to a certain level that you end up in those places. And then you just imagine that at a smaller scale, but then, moving up the chain to these, multi-billion dollar a year companies where they can easily have like thousands of people on the payroll that don't really do anything. But again, the sum total of all those salaries is pretty marginal. And so why go through the effort of like identifying maybe where there are those inefficiencies, right? And the other piece of it is like the political side of things, again, in the U.S. system, being that you've got your elected representatives and senators who want to be sure they keep jobs flowing in their individual companies and in their individual districts or states. And so they're, of course, inclined to be sure that the companies that are providing those jobs in their districts are well supported by the government, by whatever means that means, just by better regulations or, taxation or, direct government funding of companies, or direct government bailouts in some cases, right? And again, that only just makes the whole condition worse because again, you've got companies where, they're cozying up with the local politicians and being sure that all the wheels are greased and all that sort of thing. So again, bottom line, it just comes a bit down to this fact that we do, in my opinion, have this problem of just a lot of the jobs that exist out there today are just not necessary at all. But there's no incentive for, again, companies to really dig in deep to take a look at that. I mean, I guess we are in the middle of a recession here in the U.S. I think officially, although they don't like to call it that so much, but I think that is technically where we're at. And it's 2023 now. People say we'll continue to be on the downside, and so conceivably this is the time when companies are going to be trying to take a closer look and try to cut costs, which inevitably means cutting payroll. And so conceivably they would look to find those people that are, again, not doing very critical jobs. Unfortunately, in my case, my company is one that's tied to government business, I'll just say, and is not looking to go through any round of layoffs like ever, probably. So again, there's no incentive within my company for them to do any hard look at for example, why do we have groups where there's a manager of a group and no employees under that manager? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But in my company, and even groups such as mine, the one I lead, relatively very low number of staff I have, and again, I just think it's a little bit ridiculous the way the organization is set up. But for whatever reasons, that's just how it is, and they are very reluctant to change because things are just moving along. No one's really complaining in terms of like our customer base. So like, why get in there and mess it up? Which I get that. I mean, if I were some big shot executive, I guess that would be my point of view. But again, the flip side of that is that you just got people like myself in positions that are just like, this is all kind of dumb anyway, so what's the point of really giving a shit? So anyway, that's just a bit more detail of the funkiness of my day job, which, if that's something you have to deal with for 8 to 10 hours a day, then coming home, I mean, obviously I like to spend time with the family, and then after the kids are to the bed, by that time I'm just like more so mentally exhausted, but sometimes obviously physically exhausted, and I'm just not, with this whole online business thing, just frankly not super motivated. And the other thing, as I was thinking about on the business side specifically, of, again, just still wondering, like, I know that for this to really work with, again, my situation where, again, I only have very limited time, and, I'm dealing with these struggles during the day, my day job, and coming home just feeling like, I do just want to sit back on the couch and just watch Netflix until I fall asleep. I mean, after I put the kids to bed. Like, that's honestly just what I feel like I would like to do. Hang out with my wife, and we just sit around eating bonbons, having a good old evening. Instead I'm down here in my basement trying to figure out what the hell I should be doing next, and just knowing or feeling, I guess, that even the ideas I've sketched out in the recent past about things I would like to do, just doesn't motivate me enough to, again, want to really put in the extra effort to get something done for, again, reason like I talked about a little bit on the last video. So I don't know what to do with all that. I was even looking back at like affiliate marketing today, and it's like, maybe I just shouldn't even try to come up with my own product thing again. If that's really the struggle here, I should just, I enjoy the marketing, kind of learning about marketing and understanding copywriting and understanding influence and persuasion and all that sort of stuff. So why don't I just become an affiliate marketer? And my whole job is just the marketing, and I just pick some person's product. But again, there's nothing easy about any of this, right? It's like any of these options you pick. I mean, you quickly realize that even though a lot of people make it sound like, oh, it's easy to make a buck doing affiliate marketing or doing e-commerce or whatever, you quickly realize that, again, if you're starting literally from scratch, like you have no existing business, no existing customer base, then any of those options are like actually very difficult, because, again, at the end of the day, it's all about who do you know, who are those potential customers that you would sell something to, and how are you going to get those customers? And again, I think there was probably a day, maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago or something, where you could more easily start with not having any sort of customer base, and you could relatively cheaply buy some ads on the Facebooks or the whatevers, Instagrams, and start to get people into your funnel at a relatively reasonable rate where the economics made sense, relative to the amount of money you were making on those affiliate offers that you were pitching, to the amount of your ad spend. That return on ad spend, the ROAS, as they call it, was pretty favorable. But again, I think these days that's not really so much the case. And it seems like, again, that's a lot of the struggle. And so I just look at a lot of those types of ideas now with much more skepticism of thinking like, if somebody's really saying, oh, they've made all this money doing affiliate marketing, selling whatever kind of offer, I mean, I just assume all the time now that these are probably people that, again, already have some existing customer base, some list that they're working with. And so again, if you got a customer base, if you got a list, it's just a numbers game then. It's like, do you have 100 people on your list? Well, then maybe you'll make, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 sales of whatever the thing is. And if you have 1,000, maybe I'll make 20 or 30 sales and so on and so forth. But again, if you're starting from zero, the biggest thing is how do you get those customers? And again, your best bet over the long term is to do something more organically, meaning you start building content around a certain niche, a certain brand or whatever that you want to build, and you again start doing the videos or the podcast or blogs or whatever, and start to build some credibility, and do your lead generation stuff. So you start building your list, blah blah blah, and then like at some point in the future, maybe whatever year, 2, 3 years down the line, once you've amassed enough of a following, then you can start to drop in offers here and there, and then you can start to see that return on all that investment you put in terms of your time. And that just sucks because I'm really in the need for finding something that's able to generate at least some level of cash. Again, I don't seriously need to get to $1 million in a year. That was just kind of a goal to throw out there, but I do need to bring in some cash because I just got some extra bills to pay and shit's getting real. So I don't know. I was even thinking about like maybe I should just invest more money in one of these dumb programs, get some coaching. I don't know. But man, it's just all those things are so expensive. I mean, you're talking about multi-thousands of dollars to get into those types of things. And even friggin' Russell Brunson on his podcast always pitching his coaching programs. And even for this entry level like coaching deal right now, it's $25,000 a year just for an entry level, like amongst 1,000 other people. Like there's not, I mean, I guess they have coaches, so you kind of get some one-on-one ish maybe help. I don't, maybe via email, but it's all like group-based coaching really. And like that's just not why. I mean, I don't personally see a big value in that. Again, not at that price point. I mean, geez, that's like crazy. But he's just like, oh well, we got the process down to a T for you to make money. And, all these people have been through this program, and all these people have been successful, been able to get to the 2 Comma Club award, whatever, by following our process. And so just think about it. You could have $1 million in the bank. What's $25,000 to you at that point? Like, it doesn't matter. And sure, it doesn't. But when you're starting out on the front end of that equation and you only got $25,000 in the bank, then that's a hard move to make. Hard pill to swallow. So anyway, that's enough of a rant, I guess, for today. Apologies for those of you that are actually paying attention to some of these videos, thinking that you're going to get the secrets to success, when instead you're just getting one guy lamenting in his basement about the difficulty in playing this game, because it is hard. And again, you factor in just whatever your own personal life circumstances is on top of what you're wanting to do with this business, and then it's just easy to see why a lot of people just get burnt out of trying to do this and ultimately give up. Which is also why a lot of people get very rich off of selling their courses to wannabe entrepreneurs, because a lot of people get excited and dump a lot of money and then just quit because they realize that it's hard. But in the meantime, all those people selling those crappy products in groups make a pretty mint. So like that, maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should make this whole My Business Launch Secrets thing into like a legit, hey, I got your 5-step program for setting up your online business, even though I've never actually done it successfully myself. But hey, I'll teach you anyway. And if I could just convince you to give me $3,000 to go through my own program, then maybe that'll be my path to actually $1 million. That's kind of stupid, so I'm not going to do that. Anyway, hope you're all doing well. Keep on kicking ass, taking names, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.